Welcome back to Hungry Theologian, helping you taste and see that the Lord is good. Today we're cooking some quick lamb curry meatballs that you can whip up on a weeknight. It's a great comfort food that you should think about adding to your meal rotation. First, we need to make our lamb meatballs. Chop 2 green onions. Then in a large bowl, combine 1 pound of ground lamb, 2 tablespoons full-fat plain Greek yogurt, the green onions, half a teaspoon of chili powder, and some salt and pepper. Mix it all up with your hands. You gotta be willing to get your hands dirty if you're going to cook. Normally I would leave my ring on because I'm lazy, but it's more sanitary if you do what I did here and take off any rings. Use your hands to roll out 15 to 20 meatballs that are about 2 tablespoons worth of meat and place them on a parchment paper lined baking sheet. If any of your meatballs end up too big, just pull off some meat and re-roll it. You want uniform sizes with these so they cook evenly. Bake in a 450-degree Fahrenheit oven for 15 minutes or until they're nicely brown on the outside and fully cooked through. While those are cooking, we'll make the curry sauce. Slice 1 medium onion, mince 4 cloves of garlic, and mince or grate a 1-inch piece of ginger. I like to peel ginger with my knife when I'm chopping it like this. Heat a couple tablespoons of oil in a large skillet over medium heat. Add the onion and cook until softened. Then add the garlic and ginger and cook until fragrant. Add 1 teaspoon chili powder, 1 tablespoon yellow curry powder, and a half teaspoon cinnamon, and let your spices cook for about a minute. Then add a can of full-fat unsweetened coconut milk and a half cup of water. When I say full fat for an ingredient, don't break my heart and get the low-fat stuff. We're going for flavor here. Increase the heat and bring the sauce to a boil. Cook for 5 minutes until the sauce is thickened slightly, then add the juice of 1 lemon. Add your meatballs and cook for another 5 minutes so the sauce can thicken a bit more. Remove from the heat and stir in about 1/3 cup of roughly chopped cilantro. You should definitely eat this with some rice and naan. At some point, I'll share my homemade naan recipe, but for today, I'm just eating some store-bought naan that I'm heating up on the griddle and brushing with some garlic butter. And that's it. Quick, easy, and full of flavor. Exodus chapter 24 is to me one of the most intriguing chapters in Scripture. Moses and the elders of Israel are invited to come up the mountain closer to God and to worship Him there. But first, they perform a ritual with all the people of Israel to represent the covenant between God and His people. In this ritual, there are several animal sacrifices, and then the blood from the sacrifices is splashed onto the altar and sprinkled on the people. It's a strange ritual, and commentators have gone in many directions trying to explain what is happening here and why. One thing we might see in the ritual is an allusion to the ordination of priests that comes later in both Exodus chapter 29 and Leviticus chapter 8. Israel here, after affirming their covenant with God, is being set apart for their vocation as priests. The nation of Israel is to be a priestly nation, leading the rest of the world to the one true God. After the ritual, Moses and the elders then ascend the mountain and they see God and eat and drink in His presence. It's possible that some of the food here may be food that was left over from the peace offerings performed at the bottom of the mountain as part of the covenant ritual. But nevertheless, this is an amazing scene to imagine. Moses and the elders of Israel beholding God and sharing a meal there, eating and drinking in His presence. This event helps us to see the hospitality of God. God is inviting His people to His table. These elders of Israel get to experience a new degree of intimacy in their relationship with God as they come closer to Him, as they dine at His table. And God, the King, the great patron, invites His people to come and dine at His table, to experience His abundance. God invites all of us to come and dine at His table, to behold His presence and to feast with Him. The Lord's Supper is one obvious example of the way that we're invited to God's table. But if we understand God to be the provider of all that we have, then every meal is an opportunity to recognize the hospitality of God, who invites us to come and eat with Him. If you enjoyed this video or you learned something from it, press those like and subscribe buttons and share it with your friends.